So yes, there's latency. And we come to this one and we remove all the features like that takes actually a lot of overhead, like Windows share and all of these things. So it's going to be pure bit-to-bit, like FTP kind of transfer that will be much faster. And it will be separated. And usually they put, we put this in a separate switch. And if we have a third server in Mexico, we will have a separate WAN for replication, preferably. We can do it over the WAN if we decide that we have enough traffic and we can do that. But usually what we do, we separate the replication traffic from the production traffic. So what happens is, if this is healthy, and this is healthy, and this is fully replicated, all the traffic will be coming here. The only thing you will see is when the CPU is taking much time. But usually, as I say, this newer servers, it's really all you can have up to, I don't remember the exact number, but I think it's something like 300 gigabyte of RAM on the server. The maximum it can take usually is up to 64. But you have a lot of things happening in the RAM now instead of having on the disk. That's why it's much faster. That's why the 70% increase in I/O. It's Microsoft says it's because we did it, but it's mainly because the hardware did improve a lot. So yeah, replication latency happens on a separate network. Does this answer your question?
Well, I meant for the databases, for the syncing and the latency,
yeah, this. Of course, does it take time? If you want to create a new copy of a 100 gigabit database, it will take the amount of time to copy 100 gigabit through this network. So yeah, it's not something like, oops, I just moved 100 gigabyte to Mexico or to Germany.
Okay, but it's syncing them across all of those databases, right? And let's say they're in geographically different locations. I'm wondering if the latency is going to be able to affect that, or if it would have to cache that, or how it would all
You have to remember, all of them are passive, only one of them active.
Okay.
So latency, everything will be going to the active first, so users will not actually notice this. And it will take time to update everything else, yeah. So if something goes wrong, but you have to remember also the way, if you have, that's why they say if you have 3 copies, you didn't need backup, because usually if you have 3 copies, you will not lose their data. And I forgot to say also something. Hub transport again, dumpster again. So what happens, let's say for example that this logs has not been fully replicated and we are missing 3 logs and this one dies. So this is what I'm asking me, there's latency that prevented us from having the full amount of data here.
Yeah,
what it's gonna happen is everything that comes to this comes through the hub transport server by design, because it's the router, right? It keeps a copy and you can actually define how much space and how much time you need the copy to stay for. So let's say we're missing 2 log files here, this database, the active one died, we can't access anymore. It will pull the data back from the hub transport if it's still there, and usually it's gonna be there. This is how you complete this before you make it active. So yeah, that's a good question actually, I never thought of it.
So does that influence how you design where you put your databases and your hub transports? Would you make sure you've got...
It's a lot of design. I personally read over 100 design documents, like white papers for Exchange Server 2010. None of them say the same thing.
Right.
It's really funny because they all recommend against something and then they recommend for something. And it's just confusing. But what I've learned from reading all of these things, you have to do, you can't just say, okay, I made a design, it's awesome, it's the best design in the world, and let's do it. You have to do the design, create it in the lab, test it in the lab, stress test it, make sure it's working, and then move for it. And this is the recommended ITIL foundation kind of methodology. It's just, don't just change it without actually having tested it. So I like it. It's more money for me, so I spend more time. Darren, what do you think about all of them? Do you like CCR, LCR more, or DAG more? I need you in my line.
I like DAG more.
Okay, so Darren's on.
DAG.
Look at this, you got buy-in right away.
$10 for you.
Write your check.
So I just have one final comment today. Other than the fact, really, really good presentation today.
Thanks a lot.
What's the elevator speech business case for this? So You're in.
How hard is it to?
You're in the elevator with the big boss. You know our environment. What's the silver bullet?
We can ditch
The
Trent
one-
with no consequences if we have that. Now we're stuck with Trent for the rest of our lives.
Oh, there will be consequences.
Well, and you better watch your back here.
No, actually, this this brings me something I was listening the other day. Sorry, Trent, for that. You can ditch Marwan easy. No, I mean Trent is gonna be important all the time. For example, now we spoke about site resilience. How many of you think Microsoft has implemented site resilience for their Exchange server infrastructure?
I would.
Absolutely.
They did not. They looked into it. They thought this is too much money. We can afford to that. Like if we lose like data for 2 days time, our business does not require that. So they decided we're not spending that money for site resilience. Does this mean CK should not do that? It depends on your business. So what I'm saying, DAG is gonna simplify your system a lot, and it's really easy to like. If you have 2003, I would be more aggressive that you should move, you should move, you should move. But it's much more work to do that because now it's really awesome. All what you need to do now is just install. It's really you just swoop in Exchange Server 2000 in the organization. You move mailboxes. You kill the other one. It's just like adding a new Exchange Server 2007. So it's really compatible. And I even believe that when you move mailboxes, clients don't really care because it happens at the database level. I'll have to check this actually. So yeah.
Good.
So the business case is you have to do it now or later. If you're actually going for site resilience, even if you're going SAN on all these things, it's worth doing that before because you make your life much simpler at the end. Plus, if you want to go to the cloud, it's much easier to go from 2010 to the cloud because you can actually work similar. Like I'm in the cloud, but I was telling the guys yesterday. I have for my company, I have Office 365, and I really would love to. I recommend you that to try that, and you can get like 30 days trial. So if you want, we can create a trial for Siga. You all have Exchange Server, it has SharePoint, it has $7 a month per person, and it's all in the cloud. And you will never ditch your internal things because you need it, but it will be good for archiving for all of these things if you decide in the future. So 2010 is a big step closer to the cloud.
Good.
See, when you said Microsoft, I kind of thought Office 365, so I would hope they would use something like this, wouldn't they?
They are. This is actually Office 365 is Exchange Server 2010. Remind me to show you my tech tricks. Like it's exactly. I have Outlook on my. I have really like this is how I do it. I have Microsoft Outlook on my laptop that's connected to the internet. That's actually have access to Exchange Server that resides in San Francisco or someone else. I have SharePoint. I have Link Server, which is like the MSN Messenger kind of thing. I have contractors working with me, so I just add a user. I buy a new license for $7, and you see. I give him like a TechDirect email and access to the SharePoint to serve everything. It's amazing. This is the cloud. It's gonna look exactly the same.